Hi there, Philomaths. A Philomath is a lover of learning and studying for those who did not know. Welcome to my channel. My name is Daphne. If you are new to this channel, I discuss pretty much anything related to education and career. However, this video is a little different. I thought it would be fun to match majors with zodiac signs. So I'm going to have two possible options for each sign. I thought this would give a couple of options so at least one might resonate with you, and or this also grants a major and a minor match possibly. So, you know, gives you options, and I just thought it would be a good two would be a good number. So let's just get started. The first sign is Aries. And for this one, I chose anthropology, specifically archaeology, but anthropology in general would work too. I chose this one because I read on one source in particular that I looked up. I'll probably leave a link to it on the blog post, but it basically gave words like adventurous, active, outgoing, and I thought this really resonated with anthropology, especially for the doctorate, but probably any anthropology course would work too. And I chose this because you really need to be adventurous, active, and outgoing for anthropology. Like I said, especially for the PhD, because you may be doing, or maybe master's too, you may be doing research, and that requires you to be very outgoing, talking to people, traveling, being adventurous. So that just seemed to fit really well. And if you're an archaeologist, pretty much the same thing. You will be dealing with artifacts, but you do have to work in a team. So it just, yeah, anything anthropology related, again, I think works. And then the second one that I chose was sports management. So for this one, I chose it because, again, the same source had mentioned athletic, dynamic, and aggressive for this sign. And I just thought sports management fit this pretty well. I don't know much about it because I'm not in sports management and I don't study in this realm, but it was athletic because of sports, and it seemed like it would be dynamic, and maybe depending on what you go into specifically job wise, maybe aggressive. But yeah, it just seemed like sports in general, there was some aggression there. So I just thought that was a perfect match. And so next is Taurus. And for this one, I chose art because I actually know a few Taurans personally, and art seems to be a common denominator. So I was thinking you could get an art degree, which would be general. You could also get one in jewelry design, or one in illustration, or one in creative writing, something like that. That's more niche. But in general, art I thought would be perfect because there's not a lot of rules. It's very creative. You can express yourself how you want. So it just seemed to work. And then the second one is geography. And I chose geography because Tarns are obviously known for being animal and nature lovers. At least that's what I garnered from the source. And also, it's an earth sign. So geography just seemed like it fit so well with this sign. And yeah, so those are the two for Taurus. And the next one is Gemini. So for Gemini, I chose foreign language or linguistics. So you could basically, if there's a linguistic major or minor, that would be an option. If not, then you might could major in something like Spanish. I think I met one person who majored in Spanish, I think. Um, so that would be an option. You might could major in, French or German or something else, but yeah, it just depends on what the university offers. So that's one, and I chose that because this, again, the same source said communicators of the Zodiac, adventurous, fun. Those were the phrases or terms in the source. So that seemed to resonate with that, and that it just instantly popped in my mind. The second one is accounting, and I chose that because Gemini, it says that they are multifaceted souls. They love knowledge and knowing a little bit of everything. So I thought language with accounting would be a good balance. And also, something else I wanted to mention in the source, it says, and this is verbatim, those twins that don't have the gift of gab, quote unquote, are usually talented writers. So I guess that's another option, or have a special interest in foreign languages. So there you go. And then the next one is Cancer. And for Cancer, I chose psychology. And the reason I chose psychology is because the terms emotional and sensitive stood out to me. And so I thought learning more about that would involve a lot of psychology. So that's why I chose that one, for more understanding. At least that's what I garnered from it. And then the next major or minor, whichever one you choose, or if it even resonates with you at all, is education. And I thought education was a good one for this sign because I read where they were compassionate. And so I thought that would be a really good trait to have in education. So, yeah, especially I was thinking probably more along the lines of K through 6, but K through 12, college, pretty much any level, compassion is super important for education because I know personally I've had several teachers or professors, more so teachers than professors, but they tend to want to exercise authority a little more than I think they should, in my opinion. And I think, as a student, well, I don't know if I've always felt, but sometimes, or maybe at least 50% of the time, I felt more, oh, I have to follow these rules rather than, focusing on learning or something like that. So anyway, I thought education was a good fit for this trait. So that's why I chose that one for Cancer. And then the next sign is Leo. And Leos are basically natural born leaders. And so that's why I chose these next two options for Leo. One is business. I thought that would be a great fit because, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader. So, just kind of goes hand in hand. Poor pun intended, I guess. And then the next one is political science. I thought this was good because it just seemed like an opportunity for Leos to be a leader. I'm not really sure what job opportunities there are for political science, but it just seemed like it fit this sign, and it seemed like there was something in leadership related to political science. So, and also I was trying to keep everything separate. I didn't want to overlap any. So, other options could work for this sign as well, but those were the two that I chose. Okay, so the next sign is Virgo, and for Virgo, I chose creative writing, and I chose that because one term that stood out from the same source that I keep referring to is creative. And so creative writing just popped in my head. And yeah, again, I was trying not to overlap any. So there could be other options too, but creative writing was just the one that popped in my head. And the second option is philosophy. The article or the source had mentioned ethical as a word, and so I pulled from that and I came up with philosophy. So I thought that those two kind of merged well together, and it seemed to fit Virgo pretty well, in my opinion. And then also, I think the source had mentioned Virgos understand human frailties better than most because they are so deep and reflective themselves. And I think that was verbatim from the source. So, again, just thought those two fit pretty well. The next one is Libra. And for Libra, the general concept that I grasped from the source was their need for relating, more specifically to people. So, for that reason, I chose sociology because this has to do more with people and the relation between people. And then the second one is communication. Again, this does have to do with people because, that's part of interacting with people and is a way to relate to people and connect with people. So I thought these two would be great options. So yeah, that's Libra. And then the next one is Scorpio. And for Scorpio, the terms that sort of stood out to me for the first one, at least, for the first option, were dramatic, passionate, and deeply emotional. And so theater came to mind, especially from dramatic. So those traits just seem to fit theater perfectly. So, acting, theater, whatever it may be termed at whichever university, that would be an option. And then the second one, intense and power or powerful sort of stood out to me. And so the only thing I could come up with for that would be law. And that's two totally different fields. But I thought, based on those terms, it just seemed like both of those fit. And again, you get sort of a balance. So, next sign is Sagittarius. And for Sagittarius, the first major or first option for major or minor, however this resonates with you. The terms free-spirited and spontaneous stood out to me, and so that's why I chose journalism, because in journalism, I'm assuming that you need to be sort of free-spirited and spontaneous and sort of, fly out of your apartment or home whenever to go get a story. And then for the second one, the phrase seekers of wisdom stood out to me. So I thought of English because I was trying to put also spontaneous together with seekers of wisdom. And so I came up with English because this sort of gives you a lot of flexibility, I think, along with the free spirited nature. And yeah, I just thought this would be a great option for, you know, pretty much anything. It won't necessarily tie you down. So you could be an author, you could be a freelancer, you don't have to work in an office or, go into some building. And so that's kind of why I chose English. But, Seekers of Wisdom, I guess, could refer to several things, but that's kind of what popped in my head because, again, I was trying to connect Seekers of Wisdom with free spirited and spontaneous. So that's what I came up with. And for the next sign, which is Capricorn, the terms that really stood out to me were responsible, reliable, and cautious. So for the first one, social work, I thought would fit because of those terms, responsible and reliable. And I'm assuming maybe some caution is needed as well. So again, just seemed like a really good fit. And it seemed like Capricorns might be, somewhat patient, I'm assuming. So I just kind of saw Capricorn in this field. And then the second option that I came up with was economics. And the reason I chose this is I was trying to get sort of diversify the options. And also, I felt like this degree would kind of coincide with these terms, financially speaking. Accounting might work also, or finance. It just depends on what the university offers. And I do think economics does differ a little bit from finance and accounting, but still, if you gain the knowledge, I just kind of thought economics and responsibility and reliability sort of went together. So, yeah, that's what I thought about when I was thinking of these terms. And okay, so almost there. Next sign is Aquarius. And for Aquarius, I basically just thought about how I think this sign wants to be smart in general. So the best way I could think to sort of combine this notion is through biology and math. Now that's only in STEM, and I know that there's no, humanities or social science option, but I just thought if you want to be smart, science and math would be the way to go because, a lot of people are either scared to go that route or are deterred to go that route for one reason or another. So, biology, math, maybe chemistry, that's still STEM, but that would also be an option. And then last but not least, Pisces. Basically, what comes to mind with Pisces without even reading anything is creativity. So for the first one, I thought of music because I think a lot of Pisceans in general are musicians or singers. I can think of 3 people off the top of my head now that are Pisceans. So, yeah. Well, actually, no, I can think of 4. So yeah, music just seems to fit Pisceans really well. And then the second option that came to mind was graphic design. I was trying to think of something less artsy and also something different to allow for creativity, but also not so creative, because I feel like music and art are on the one end of the spectrum on creativity. And then graphic design, I think, is probably kind of in the middle. And so it still allows you to be creative, but it's not too abstract. So those were my choices for each one. If you feel like one, at least one, or both resonated with you, leave it in the comments. If you feel like you disagree with it, you can leave that in the comments and tell me which one you think resonates with you more. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to know more, subscribe.